Imagine Alaska, a vast icy wilderness, mountains pierce the sky. The sheer scale of the landscape is overwhelming, with its towering peaks and endless expanses of snow and ice. Glaciers carve through the land, slowly but relentlessly shaping the terrain over millennia. These massive rivers of ice are both creators and destroyers, sculpting valleys and fjords. Winters are long and harsh. The sun barely rises, casting a dim, ethereal light over the frozen landscape. The cold is biting, and the darkness seems to stretch on forever. This was Alaska before it became part of the United States. Few people lived here. The land was remote and inhospitable, a place where only the hardiest could survive. Native tribes survived by hunting and fishing. They had adapted to the harsh conditions over generations, developing skills and knowledge that allowed them to thrive in this challenging environment. The land seemed to offer little else. It was a place of stark beauty, but also of immense isolation. The vast empty spaces could be both awe-inspiring and intimidating. It was a place of stark beauty, but also of immense isolation. The silence of the wilderness was profound, broken only by the sounds of nature. The Russians were the first Europeans to lay claim to Alaska. They saw potential in the land, despite its harsh conditions. They arrived in the 1700s in search of furs. The fur trade was lucrative, and Alaska's abundant wildlife offered a new source of wealth. They established settlements and trading posts. These outposts were small and isolated, but they served as hubs for the fur trade. But they never fully explored or settled this vast territory. The sheer size and harsh conditions of Alaska made it difficult to penetrate its interior. The cost of maintaining this distant outpost was high. The returns were meager. The fur trade alone could not justify the expense and effort required to sustain the settlements. Russia began to see Alaska as more of a burden than an asset. The settlers were weary, and the promise of wealth seemed increasingly out of reach. The land held secrets, hidden beneath the ice and snow. There were untapped resources and potential that remained undiscovered. But the Russians were unable to unlock its true potential. Their expeditions often ended in frustration and failure. They lacked the resources and the will to do so. The harsh environment and logistical challenges were too great to overcome. The fate of Alaska hung in the balance. Change was coming. The land, with all its hidden potential, was on the brink of a new chapter in its history. The Tsar of Russia, Alexander II, faced a difficult decision that would shape the future of his empire. What to do with Alaska, a vast and remote territory that seemed more burden than benefit? The colony was draining Russian finances, adding to the already strained economy of the empire. The fur trade, once a lucrative enterprise, was in decline, diminishing the economic value of the region. Maintaining a military presence in Alaska was costly and strategically challenging, stretching Russia's resources thin. The British, Russia's rivals, loomed large to the south in Canada, posing a constant threat. Russia feared a British takeover of Alaska, which would further weaken their strategic position. They knew they could not defend it effectively against a determined British assault. Selling it to the United States emerged as a strategic move, a way to offload the burden while gaining an ally. It would put a barrier between Russia and Britain in North America, creating a buffer zone. It would also provide a much-needed influx of cash, which was crucial for the empire's stability. The Tsar needed money to modernize Russia, to invest in infrastructure and industry to keep pace with other European powers. Negotiations with the United States began, with both sides seeing potential benefits. The Russians were eager to strike a deal, seeing it as a way to solve multiple problems at once. They were willing to sell Alaska for a surprisingly low price, just $7.2 million, a fraction of its potential value. The Americans, though initially hesitant, saw an opportunity to expand their territory and influence, ultimately agreeing to the purchase. Enter William Seward, the United States Secretary of State. A visionary leader with a keen eye for opportunity. He saw potential in Alaska that others missed. To him, it was not just a barren, icy expanse, but a land brimming with untapped resources and strategic value. He believed in manifest destiny, the driving force behind America's westward expansion. This was the idea that the United States had a God-given right to expand across North America, from the Atlantic to the Pacific. Seward saw Alaska as a key strategic asset, a gateway to the Pacific and beyond. It would extend American influence across the Pacific, opening new trade routes and opportunities. He argued passionately for the purchase of Alaska. He faced strong opposition from Congress and the public. Many Americans saw Alaska as a frozen wasteland, devoid of any real value. They ridiculed the purchase as Seward's Folly and Seward's icebox. But Seward persisted, confident in his vision. Finally, in 1867, the deal was done. The Treaty of Cession was signed. The United States bought Alaska from Russia for $7.2 million, a sum that seemed enormous at the time. It was less than 2 cents an acre, a bargain by any measure. At the time, it seemed like a colossal mistake. Critics were vocal and unrelenting. Little did anyone know what lay beneath the surface. Rich deposits of gold, oil, and other valuable resources awaited discovery, transforming Alaska into a treasure trove. If you enjoyed this journey through history, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more fascinating stories. Thank you for watching.